All right, there are houses. Here's a story. There are houses that feel empty, and then there are houses that feel as though something inside them never quite finished living. The Marlo house felt like the latter. From the moment Daniel first stood at the end of the gravel drive and looked up at its dark second-floor windows, the property sat where an old county road simply stopped. Years ago, it had connected two small towns. Now it led nowhere except to a sagging mailbox and a two-story farmhouse that had been vacant for more than a decade. Daniel didn't believe in haunted houses. He believed in restoration. He was a contractor who specialized in bringing aging structures back to life. And the Marlo place had everything he liked. Solid beams, a stone foundation, a staircase of dark walnut hidden under layers of dust. Henry and Eleanor Marlo had owned the home for most of their adult lives. They had no children. Henry died first, his obituary short and unremarkable. Eleanor passed less than a year later with no one eager to claim it. The house had simply remained. Furniture stood where it had always stood. Dishes were still stacked in cabinets. In the kitchen, a calendar hung open to October from 14 years earlier. Daniel purchased it at a price low enough to justify the work. He opened windows to let air circulate, hauled out damaged flooring, stripped wallpaper, and sanded trim until the grain reappeared. The first week passed without incident. The house made the usual sounds of an old structure, adjusting to temperature and humidity. Pipes knocked, boards creaked, wind pushed faintly at the windows. He began sleeping there to save the commute back to his apartment. Setting up a cot in the front parlor, he told himself it was practical. It also allowed him to understand the house on his own terms. The first unexplained sound came on the 8th night. Rain had settled in after midnight, tapping steadily against the roof. Daniel woke to the sound of wood dragging across wood somewhere above him. It was not a sharp crash or the random pop of shifting beams. It was a slow, deliberate scrape, as though a chair had been pulled carefully across the floor. He lay still and listened. The sound stopped. Silence returned, and after a minute he convinced himself it was moisture swelling the floorboards and eventually drifted back to sleep. Excuse me. In the morning, he climbed to the master bedroom to continue stripping paint from the window frames. The room looked unchanged, except for one detail. A small wooden vanity chair. It had been tucked away neatly beneath the dressing table, now sat angled towards the center of the room, pulled back as though someone had risen from it. He paused, then stepped inside and pushed it back under the vanity. Old houses could shift. Memory could misfile small details. He didn't dwell on it. A few days later, after sanding the banister in the upstairs hallway, he caught the faint scent of perfume. It wasn't modern or sharp. It carried a powdery floral note, the kind associated with older cosmetics. The scent seemed to pass him rather than emanate from a single location, lingering briefly before fading. He searched for a source, a drawer, a forgotten bottle, but found nothing. The night developed a pattern soon after. Just after 1 in the morning, footsteps began crossing the upstairs landing. They were measured and unhurried, moving from one room to the next. They never descended the stairs, never paused for long. Daniel sat upright. The first time he clearly heard them, his pulse steady but alert. On the third night, he counted 22 steps. The number repeated the following night, and the night after that, the same pacing, the same circuit. Eventually, he climbed the stairs while the footsteps were underway. As he reached the landing, the final step sounded inside the master bedroom. He flicked on the light. The room was empty. The vanity chair, however, was once again pulled away from the table. Daniel felt irritation more than fear. Whatever was happening was subtle, almost restrained, but undoubtedly consistent. He decided to research the house. Henry's death was straightforward. Heart complications. Eleanor's passing followed less than a year later after a period of illness. A small local article described her as increasingly reclusive after her husband's death. One line caught Daniel's attention. Neighbors had mentioned that Eleanor often walked to the upstairs rooms late at night, checking doors and windows. in a set order before bed, a routine. Daniel closed the article and leaned back in his chair, 22 steps, room to room. That night, the footsteps began earlier than usual. They were faster, the rhythm slightly uneven. In the middle of the circuit, the sound of wood scraping echoed sharply from the master bedroom once, twice, and then against in short bursts, as though the chair were being dragged repeatedly across the floor. The disturbance felt less like a warning and more like a frustration. The following morning, Daniel made a decision that seemed rational at the time. If there was a pattern, perhaps breaking it would end whatever was happening. He removed the vanity from the master bedroom entirely and carried it to the barn beside the house. He closed the bedroom door firmly before heading downstairs. That night, the footsteps, they resumed at 1:17 a.m., as they had before. They crossed the landing towards the master bedroom and stopped. A long pause followed. Then 3 deliberate knocks sounded on the bedroom door. Daniel sat upright on his cot, his body tense. Another knock followed, and then a quiet rattle of the doorknob, as if someone were testing it without urgency. He did not move. After a moment, the footsteps resumed, but the pattern had changed. They moved back and forth across the landing without completing the circuit. The sound continued for nearly an hour before fading. 2 nights later, Daniel woke to the sensation of weight at the foot of his cot. It was subtle but unmistakable, like someone sitting down carefully to avoid waking him. The faint perfume scent returned, stronger this time, filling the air near his face. He kept his eyes closed for several seconds, listening. There was no breathing, no shifting fabric, only the impression of presence. The weight lifted, footsteps crossed the parlor floor and moved towards the staircase. He opened his eyes and watched the darkness as the steps climbed upward, counting without meaning to. 22. Silence followed. Daniel rose and walked upstairs. The master bedroom door, which he had closed earlier, now stood open. In the center of the room sat the vanity chair. Not the entire vanity, only the chair. He had left both pieces in the barn. The chair was positioned squarely facing the doorway, aligned as if carefully placed. Daniel stood in the hall for a long time, his mind moving through possible explanations, memory lapses, sleepwalking, stress, but none of that felt sufficient. He stepped inside and turned the chair slightly, angling it towards the window instead of the door. Then he closed the bedroom door and went back downstairs. The following night, the footsteps returned to their original pattern. They completed the circuit calmly and evenly. There were no knocks, no frantic scraping. The house felt settled again, as if the interruption had been acknowledged and corrected. Daniel chose not to move the chair again. Over the next 3 months, he finished restoring the house. The nightly routine continued, predictable and contained. Occasionally, he would smell the faint perfume drifting through the upstairs hallway. Once or twice, he found a door he remembered closing slightly ajar. Nothing escalated beyond that. When the work was complete, he sold the property to a couple who appreciated historic homes. He told them about the footsteps and the chair, presenting it as unusual but harmless as an occurrence. They listened politely, smiling with a kind of skepticism that suggests they assumed he was embellishing for effect. 6 months after the sale, a handwritten letter arrived. They were enjoying the house, it said. The craftsmanship was beautiful. They had only one question. Had Daniel ever noticed someone walking upstairs at night? And had the vanity chair always been positioned facing the master bedroom door? Daniel folded the letter and placed it in a drawer with old receipts and property documents. He never responded. Some houses deteriorate when left alone, others linger. They retain the rhythm of former lives, the way floorboards retain the echo of familiar footsteps. If Eleanor Marlo had once walked those rooms each night, checking doors and windows in a careful order, perhaps that pattern had simply remained when she did not. The Marlo house was not violent. It did not rage or threaten. It repeated every night after 1 a.m. 22 steps crossed the landing in steady succession. Not searching, not warning, just continuing. And that's the rest of the story.
I think that might be one of my favorites that we've done for a while.
Yeah, that was good. I like that.
I love old houses, so the fact that he was kind of, working on the house kind of drew me in a little bit. Mm-hmm. Also, just the story of it kind of being on this road that had been important at one time, but no longer was. I mean, it just reminds me of my childhood because like out where I live, the roads that were important aren't because the highway's there now and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, very good. And I love the fact that somehow the chair found its way back into the house.
I like that. I'm an object person. I don't know why, but I feel it's in my mind. But I feel sentimentality to a lot to probably more objects than I do human beings, and those sort of things. That's why I love antique stores. I love seeing things get repurposed and reused because it makes me think just about this story, and it does make you wonder about the people who sat in them, the stories that were told, the things that they saw. Those sort of things are very fascinating to me. So that spoke to me too. I like that, Carol.
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea of that. I just don't want any of those things in my home.
Yeah.
I don't have any. I have no antiques in my home. I mean, I do have some older things, but they were, for the most part, someone in my family, like something my mother had.
Yeah.
Not anything from the outside.
I got a ton of shit in this room. I have a jar over here. I've talked about this on the air. That was it smells like my grandparents' house. You open up the thing and you take a whiff of it and there's Winnebago Drive right there. I also have a bottle of liquor over here that's in a bowling pin canister. It's like an old Jim Beam one that's in the shape of a bowling pin. You see them in antique stores every now and then.
Yeah.
And that's from my grandfather, and it's actually the last thing he drank. He was in hospice at the end. He didn't die of alcohol. It was just it was the end, and he had been saving this damn bottle his whole forever. I was a kid and I loved bowling stuff because I'm from Wisconsin, and I was like, "Can I see the bowling pin?" When I was a kid, and he'd always show me the bowling pin bottle he never opened. And then the night before he passed, him and my mom and dad and aunts and uncles and everybody, they were all in there with him, and they all did a shot from that bottle. And I have the bottle. It's right there,
cool, actually.
And
I'm sorry.
And there's still a little in there from that. And I every if there's something big in my life or something, I will pour a drop in a glass.
Oh.
But what I think I want to do is actually add to it, is take just then it spreads it so I have more then, but it's still, the original is still in there. And I think I'm going to do that because otherwise it's going to run out at some point.
What kind of liquor comes in a bowling pin?
It's Jim Beam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just like how they have those decorative canisters. They sometimes you see them with the holidays. They used to be a much bigger thing. They'd be animal shapes and all that shit. That's what that is, and it's I think it's from the 60s or the 70s. But it's
yeah, they did men's cologne like that too. Because my dad, it'd be we'd order it through Avon, and it would be come in this glass car with
Yes.
Yeah.
And it would be so exciting to give Dad that bottle of cologne that comes in the car.
Yeah.
Now you don't see that anymore.
You don't. I think it's neat.
Liquor and bowling pins these days.
Here, I'll show it to you. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Yeah.
My sister actually had a couple of Elvis decanter bottles. And so you'd screw off the Elvis head. I don't think she ever opened it because then they always say that if you open up those, then they're not worth anything and blah, 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 blah. So she had, I think 2 or 3 of them because she was a big Elvis fan.
Are they from the 70s or something?
I would say probably these are probably from the 80s, but there it is. Oh yeah, that looks just like a bowling pin.
Beam 10 pin is what it's called. I have 2 of these. This is the one I got at an antique store. See, the top just kind of comes off like that. His is actually over there. I'm trying to see if there's no. This says Patty 89 at the bottom of it, so it's at least from. Let me see if there's a label on that one.
All right.
And I'm trying to figure out how, the Elvis thing, because some of those are worth some money. Because there's a gold and a silver one that I found.
Oh my God! Yeah,
$bucks.
80,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't that nice.
Let
I'm
me
trying to see.
Here it is. This one was my grandpa Al's. This is Al because this is a sticker from his room that they had on it. And
Oh, yeah,
there's still some in there. 63.
Wow.
I can't believe that had liquor in it. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep. It's still in there.
He just burned his nostrils out. That's,
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, there's still some in here. Yeah. Jesus. Wow.
is it glass or is it metal or what is it?
It's ceramic, I think.
Ceramic? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have some unopened bottles of liquor, like from probably the 1940s, would be my guess.
What?
I do. And I don't know what to do with them. They were my dad's girlfriends. She was 20 years older than he was. So I think they are probably from the 40s.
Wow, that
And so,
sounds like a party to me.
Or would they be horrible?
What are they of?
I'm trying to think now. I've got them. It's interesting. One is like a sake that came in this really fancy.
That's probably
kind of
bad.
Oh, I wouldn't. I wouldn't open any of them. I'd have to go in the kitchen.
But if it's like a hard liquor, it's probably fine. If it's like a vodka or a rum or a
but they
whiskey.
still have seals on them, and
Yeah.
so I guess I have those because they came from her. And when I moved into this house, I didn't even realize I had all of them. But they're pretty cool because some of them still have kind of a similar looking jar, but some of them are quite different.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I guess that's the really old stuff I have would be those.
1940s. Wow.
Probably.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what you got there.
I'd have to go look.